Morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Will you ever be able to forgive me for my behavior these past few days?
Alan, if only you hadn't been so angry and defensive.
Yes, I know, darling, you're right. I was defensive and arrogant and cruel. But when your father came to me with that plan of Elizabeth's, I saw red. I lost control.
But Alan, why did you let it out on me? I never once said that I agreed with Elizabeth's plan to give Jackie and Justin custody of Philip. Never once.
I know, darling.
I was just trying to understand why you didn't think it important to tell Elizabeth the truth about Philip in all that time, and why you didn't tell me the truth about it during all that time also.
But, darling, don't you remember I tried to, once, in this very room. I tried to tell you about that and so many other things.
Yes, I remember.
But we were interrupted before I could get into any of the details. And I told you then, and I still believe, that if I had met you when I was in college, I wouldn't be spending the rest of my life regretting things that I did in the past.
Do you regret not telling Elizabeth the truth about Philip now?
Yes. When I came home last night, I wanted to come upstairs and go into our room and wake you and tell you that and so much more.
Oh, Alan, I wish you had. I've been so lost and lonely without you these past few days.
I know. These have been the worst days of my life, too. And seeing the hurt and the bewilderment in your eyes, and knowing that I was responsible for it.
Alan, I love you. I love you so much.
No. Let Emily get that. I just want to hold you and make you believe how much I love you and need you.
Mike, I've cleared my schedule so I can either stay here and take care of things at the office, or if you'd like, I'll be with you in court. It's up to you.
I'd just as soon you came to court, Derek. I sure wish Neil Blake would call so I'd find out whether he made it back to Springfield or not.
Do you have a home number on him? You know, he might have gone there straight from the airport when he got in last night.
Yeah, I called him at home and the office. No answer either place.
Well, look, I'm sure he's going to be calling Mike because he was shocked when I told him that Jennifer Richards was on trial for Lucille's murder.
You know what I can't figure out? I can't figure out how Jennifer found out that I got that birth certificate. The only other people that knew about it were Laney and my mother, and they certainly wouldn't have said anything about it.
Well, what amazes me is that Jennifer tried to invent even more lies to convince you that it was unimportant to her defense.
Well, it doesn't amaze me. Jennifer Richards' whole life has been one lie after another ever since she gave birth to that illegitimate baby. She lies more easily than she tells the truth. And that's why I was hoping to get her on the stand and bring out this birth certificate, because I figured she wouldn't have time to invent any lies.
Oh, you're going to have to get it out of her somehow.
Yeah. But how can I when apparently Jennifer's the only person that knows about it, and she'd rather lie and perjure herself and go to prison than tell the truth?
Mr. Blake, thank you for coming to see me.
Well, there was a message on my desk when I got back to Springfield last night. It seemed urgent. How on earth did you manage to get a message delivered to me without going through Charles?
Oh, a friend delivered it. Mr. Blake, I have to know if you've spoken to Mike Bauer yet.
No, but I shall have to shortly.
But you mustn't tell him the truth.
Well, I can't tell him anything without your permission. As a lawyer, I'm bound by a code of ethics.
Not even if he puts you on the witness stand?
Oh, that wouldn't make any difference. Even in a criminal case, this state recognizes the lawyer-client privilege.
Thank God.
Well, after I got home, I started reading through everything I could lay my hands on your first trial. And knowing what I do know, I think I've been able to put the most important facts together. Now, Lucille Wexler found out that you were Jane Marie Stafford, Amanda's real mother, didn't she?
Yes.
But how?
I don't know. But when she did, she tried to kill me.
I wonder if Brandon would have done things differently if he could have realized the wake of chaos he was creating when he took Alan's baby from you in the Toronto hospital, gave her to Lucille Wexler to raise as her own.
Yes. It changed all our lives.
You know, that one decision has hurt so many people all this time. Shouldn't you end it all now by telling the truth, saving yourself from going to prison for years?
No, Mr. Blake. You see, Amanda's in the final stages of a very difficult pregnancy. I'm afraid the shock would be very bad for her.
If there's anything I've learned in all my years practicing law, it is that the truth always comes out. Someone, someday, is going to expose you, Mrs. Richards.
Who?
Well, Alan. He knew that you were pregnant with his child before your family left for Toronto.
Yes, but I've thought of that. My picture's been in the papers, and he hasn't come forward yet, so I don't think he recognizes me as Jane Marie Stafford. And you see, he's the only person in Springfield who could.
Well, Mr. Stafford, I was so pleased when Dr. Marler said that you were going to be back at Cedars.
Justin finally convinced us that my dad should have a second operation.
Oh, well, he's the best. And with Dr. Scott assisting, it'll give you a whole new lease on life.
And now, the award-winning Guiding Light.
Alan, we can get through anything as long as you don't put up those barriers between us.
It'll never happen again. Just that I felt so helpless not being able to combat Elizabeth's insane idea because I wasn't getting the proper legal advice from Neil Blake's partner. But he's not going to be representing me in court. That's why I have to see Neil the moment he gets home today so that we can map our strategy.
I wish you could think of some other way to handle this.
Well, Philip doesn't have to know, unless Elizabeth tells him.
Have you talked to Jackie and Justin yet?
No, I called last night from the office, but Philip said they were out.
How did Philip sound?
Well, he sounded excited about the ski trip, and he seemed very pleased about his progress in school this year.
I'm sorry to disturb you, but I thought one of these might be important.
Oh,
Mrs.
thank you,
Smelton.
Emily. Who was that that called a few minutes ago?
I have no idea. It's the second time the man's called. He asks for you, but he won't give his name. And he has the strangest sounding voice. Very muffled.
That must be the same man who called twice last night. And Emily's right. He has the strangest sounding voice.
Will you both be home for dinner this evening?
Yes, we will, Emily. And would you please prepare something special?
With pleasure.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
So, what's on your agenda for today?
Well, I'm not sure. Dad might call me later today to testify at Jennifer's trial.
So soon?
Yes, he thinks that Ross is trying to finish up the prosecution sometime today.
Well, I missed your testimony once, but not again. Even if I have to sell the business, I'm going to be there to lend you moral support.
Well, let me know, okay? Thank you.
Blake's still not in his office?
No. No, and I have to know about whether his testimony about that money's going to do Jennifer any good so I can add his name to the list of witnesses.
I thought you were definitely calling Sarah McIntyre, Mike.
Yeah, her name's on that list.
No, it isn't.
What? Of course it is. I put it right under Kelly Nelson and Mrs. Bow. Well, I don't get it. I was sure I typed it in there last night.
Nobody's perfect, Derek.
Did I tell you I found out that Ross is going to put Amanda on the stand again?
I thought she testified already.
She has, but he's sure to bring her back again, especially since Mike did such a brilliant cross-examination the first time Amanda was on the stand.
Ross is just eager for the jury to see more tears so he can exploit. I'm sorry, lady.
Don't be. I know exactly what Ross is capable of when he's out to win. I don't like it any more than you do.
Well, let's see how you look.
Vanessa, would you quit fussing with that damn
No,
thing?
I will not. If you are going to be concluding the state's case today, you have to be looking absolutely gorgeous.
Well, I hope you told Chet Stafford the reason I couldn't come to the phone earlier is because I was in the shower.
Of course I did. But that didn't stop him from boring me to death, telling me that he was back in Springfield and on about his interminable search for that boring old sister. What's her name?
Her name is Jane Marie.
Jane Marie. That's right. Darling, there was one thing that he wanted me to make sure I asked you. He wanted to know if you'd managed to send the sketch that he sent you on to the proper authorities. Sketch of his sister.
What sketch? Chet never sent me a sketch.
Well, yes, he did. I'm afraid I threw it out.
You did what?
Well, for heaven's sakes, he stuffed it into that Christmas card, and you told me to sort them out and just save the important ones. It wasn't opened.
Well, I didn't tell you to throw the other ones out.
Well, for goodness sakes, I had to tidy up. The place looked like an absolute tornado.
Oh, Lord, Vanessa, one of these days, you know,
just please calm down? It seems Chet's father did the sketch, so Chet's father can just do another sketch while he's recuperating in the hospital from the operation.
Yeah, and if he doesn't recuperate, then what?
No morbid thoughts. It's a beautiful morning. Now, please, just concentrate on this really lovely, lovely weekend we're going to have in Jamaica with a public relations man who are going to take care of your very bright political future.
I am not going to have a future if I lose this case.
Ross, do you remember last night at dinner? Clarence going on and on, giving you compliment after compliment about how cunning and clever you'd been this time, much more than last time.
Oh, come on, Vanessa. Talk is cheap.
And he also said that you had the jury eating right out of your hand.
Yeah, but I want Amanda in that courtroom, especially when Mike starts his defense.
My darling, you are going to have Amanda in the courtroom, thanks to your very clever trick of getting her to testify again. All right, now just keep... I'll get it.
All right.
It's probably Western Union. The telegram from the governor congratulating you on all your good work. Well, what a surprise. And how are you this lovely wintry morning, Ben?
I want to talk to Ross. He's here, isn't he?
Oh, no, you just missed him. I'm terribly sorry. And as you can see, I'm not exactly dressed for company.
What can I do for you, Ben?
I want to talk to you about Amanda. I'm very worried about her.
Oh, really? Why?
I'd appreciate it if we could talk in private.
Well, whatever you have to say, feel free to say it in front of Vanessa.
All right. That's the way you want it. It's fine with me. I don't like you. I didn't like you when I first met you, and after that last trial, I've actually learned to hate you.
I see. Now, what does all this have to do with Amanda?
I want to know why in the hell you have to call her again today and put her through more grief.
Because I am the counsel for the prosecution, that's why. It's as simple as that.
You already had her on the stand once for over an hour, so don't try to tell me you forgot to ask her something.
Oh, no, I didn't. But during the course of Mike Bauer's cross-examination, he browbeat Amanda into saying some things about her mother that simply weren't true.
Mike Bauer is a compassionate human being who wouldn't browbeat a pregnant woman. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for you.
Ben, I am as concerned about Amanda as anyone else.
Oh, yeah, right. Your concern turns on and off like a light switch.
What are you talking about?
You have capitalized on Amanda's pregnancy in front of the court, the judge, the jury, the media. But when the cameras aren't around, or your sympathy can't help you win your damn lousy case, you couldn't care less about her or the baby, and you know it.
Ben, that's simply not true. However, let me remind you, you don't have a whole lot to say about it if I do decide to call Amanda and ask her to testify again.
Okay. All right, Hotshot, you listen to this. I'm going to be in that courtroom. If I think for 1 second she's getting too upset, or that you're pushing her into breaking down just to impress the jury, I swear to God I will forget I am in a courtroom and go straight for your throat.
Now, Ben, remember the last time you lost your temper in the
yeah, I remember. I know the reason for it, too, because you deliberately goaded me until I finally blew up. You have to work so hard this time, Russ, because I'm ready and waiting.
Yeah, well, good. Consider me forewarned.
Okay, fine. You just get a little cocky, you know. I won't wait for the courtroom. I'll beat you to a bloody pulp right now. And believe me, nothing would give me greater satisfaction.
Well, somebody really ought to teach that young man to speak his mind.
Oh, Vanessa. Why don't you just shut up?
I am trying to understand what you're doing, Mrs. Richards, but as a lawyer, I have to tell you, you are making a terrible mistake.
Oh, perhaps I am, but you can't tell that to a court, and that's all that I care about.
Well, Mike Bauer would be perfectly well within his limits to call me as a witness and ask if I made a cash payment in Hartford Mills to your account. And I would have to honestly say that I did.
I know, but you'd be betraying a client's trust if you told him that Brandon Spaulding asked you to do that, wouldn't you?
That's right. I can't divulge that information.
And you couldn't tell them that Amanda was my daughter or Alan Spaulding's daughter, isn't that right?
Yes, that was entrusted to me in confidence as Brandon's lawyer. I can't tell anyone without your permission.
Well, that's fine. That's all that I wanted to hear.
Look, don't you think it's bad enough that you've spent most of your adult life lying and deceiving those close to you without making your misery worse by going to prison for a crime you didn't commit.
Mr. Blake, the day they took my daughter away from me, I vowed that she would never know the truth, and I'm not going to break that vow now.
Well, that protects Amanda, but you have another daughter to consider. What about Morgan?
She's being looked after by Mike Bauer's mother, and one day, when she's forgotten all about this, she'll be able to go on with her life.
I think you were making plans for this eventuality when you called me in Australia, am I right?
Yes, that's why I wanted to change the will, so Morgan would be taken care of while I was in prison.
Well, that's another piece of the puzzle I managed to put in place when I was reading the report of your first trial last night. So, I brought these documents for your signature.
Now, Morgan will never know where this money came from. Is that correct?
Absolutely right.
Time's about up, Jennifer. You still have to go over to the change clothes and get to the courthouse.
All right. Well, I think I know now what I have to do. I'm sorry, Mr. Blake, if I've caused you any problems.
I'm sorry, too, but not for myself.
Well, thank you for coming to see me.
Hey, Morgan! Morgan, over here!
What are you doing here? Couldn't believe it when I looked over and saw you sitting here.
You know, this school is really incredible. You know, that you should see the high school that I went to. The walls were
Noah,
kicked. What?
You didn't tell me what you're doing here.
Well, I wanted to see you. So what I did is I went straight to the principal's office and I said that I was here on official hospital business. So they tell me your schedule. They said you had a break coming up. So I came straight to the cafeteria. Clever, huh?
Very. But why aren't you in work?
Well, I found out last night from Kelly that he might be called as one of the character, witnesses in your mom's trial today. So last time I missed him, so I took the whole day off.
So you came down here to tell me that?
Well, I thought you'd want to go.
No, I really, really shouldn't go.
Now, come on, you were the one that was dying to hear the evidence that Mike Bauer found in your mom's bungalow.
Yeah?
Well, now's your chance. I mean, you know that that's the first thing he's going to talk about when he's defending your mom this afternoon.
Yeah, but my mother got so upset the last time that I went there.
Well, that's because you stood up and yelled and everybody looked at you. But this time we'll get 2 seats right in the back. So what do you say?
Well, where should I meet you?
Right out in front after your lunch break. I mean, really, who has more of a right to be there than you? And me as your best friend.
Sarah, yeah, with everything that's been going on, I'm not sure I've congratulated you yet on your plans to get married next week.
Oh, well, you have, Kelly, but thank you again anyway.
Well, I just want you to know how happy I am about it, and well, I'm sure Tim must be pretty happy, too.
Yes, he is. I just wish he didn't feel he had to move out.
Tim's moving? Oh, I didn't know that.
I tried to talk him out of it, but he insisted on getting his own place near campus.
When's he moving in?
Well, pretty soon, I guess, because he and Morgan were over there last night fixing it up. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, come on, don't be. I've got to get used to that sooner or later, right? The only thing I was thinking was that I just hope he's not using this as a way to get in a situation where no one can check up on his drink.
Yes, well, that thought crossed my mind, too, but he says that he's not drinking at all now, and he does seem very bright-eyed and alert when he wakes up in the morning, so.
Good. I just hope he sticks to it.
Yeah, so do I. Of course, all of this could change if Mike doesn't succeed in clearing Jennifer this time.
Did Mike tell you you might be testifying again today, too?
Yes, and this time he will definitely question me about statements that Lucille Wexler made in ICU, particularly the one about Amanda must never know the truth.
I wonder if that's the same truth that Mrs. Richards has been trying to hide.
Kelly? Sarah, Derek just called and said that Ross is questioning his last witness and he wants us there back at the courthouse as soon as possible, within the hour.
Oh, well, I better go tell them in the blood bank and then I'll come back down.
Okay, dear.
Bert, did Derek say how things are going?
Well, he said that Amanda was on the witness stand and that Ross Marler kept asking her over and over again to repeat her mother's last words, that Jennifer was trying to kill her. So.
Hi, Bert.
Oh, hi, dear. Hi, Dr. McIntyre.
Oh, Katie, I'm on my way to the courthouse.
Right. Is there anything I can do for you while you're gone?
I'll meet you down in the lobby, Bert, okay?
Fine. See you then.
Katie, some of my records were out of order again this morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had straightened it all out. It's the same mistake I made last time?
Well, apparently. Now, look, can you come to my office now, and I'll go over, show you which ones they are, and I'll give you the names of my patients this afternoon. You can call and reschedule the appointments.
Okay, fine.
Oh, would you like some fresh coffee, Mr. Spaulding?
Oh, no, thank you, Emily. Did Neil Blake call while I was in the shower?
Oh, no, sir. But Mrs. Spaulding called a few minutes ago and said she'd been asked to be at the courthouse for this afternoon's session.
Oh, thank you. I said I'd be there in time to hear her testify. Did she give you any idea what time that might be?
Oh, she had no idea. But she said she'd leave a message at your office as soon as she was able to speak to her father.
Thank you.
Oh, shall I get that?
I'll get it. Hello.
Mr. Alan Spaulding.
This is Alan Spaulding. Who is this?
A friend told me you might be interested in some information that's very damaging to your ex-wife, Elizabeth Marler.
Would you please identify yourself?
That's not important. I can give you detailed proof of an extramarital affair she had when she was married to Justin Marler. Interested, Mr. Spaulding?
I don't conduct business over the telephone with people who refuse to identify themselves, especially when you're obviously disguising your voice.
My friend must be wrong then. You aren't interested. I'll tell you what, Mr. Spaulding. Why don't I give you a little time to think about it? Then I'll call you back.
No. Would you please tell me what you...
It's all over now, so just try to relax, okay?
You know, I tried very hard not to get upset, but every time I have to talk about Mother's death and the accusations she made against Jennifer, I can't help it.
Why do you think Ross kept asking you the same questions over and over again? He
Ben,
wanted the jury to see those tears.
I also made the mistake of looking at Jennifer while Ross was asking me about the thefts and Mother's accusations. I just don't know what to believe anymore. I can't live like
Well,
this.
I am sure that Mike is doing all he can to find the truth for all of us. Right now, my main concern is you.
I'm okay. I just want to find out the truth.
Excuse me, Amanda. Amanda, I'd like to thank you for testifying again. I could tell that your words had a significant effect on the jury.
I'm just glad I don't have to get up there again, Ross.
Well, yes, so am I. I know how difficult it must have been for you.
Can you tell me when Mike will be introducing his new evidence that he came up with?
Well, frankly, I don't know, but for my case, I'd open with it.
Ben, after lunch, I'd like to come back into the courtroom for just part of the afternoon session.
Look, you know how it was the last trial. Mike started with all of his character witnesses first. I'm sure it's going to be the same thing this time.
No, Ben, I
Hey,
seriously...
just stay out of it, will you, please?
Ben, what we were talking about before, I can't live with these unanswered questions anymore. If I stay and at least find out something, no matter how unimportant, it'll help.
All right. Okay. If I see it's getting to be too much, so we're going to leave immediately.
Of course. Thank you.
Oh, Diane, thank you for coming over on such short notice.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Would you like some coffee, Miss Ballard?
Yes, thank you, Emma.
Alan, what is going on? You sounded absolutely frantic when you called.
Well, I'll try to make this brief because I've got to be at the courthouse to hear Hope testify.
Ah, I take it things are better between you.
Much. Hope was more forgiving than I had any right to expect, consider the way I've behaved the past few days.
Well, Elizabeth's proposal was ridiculous. It's perfectly understandable to me that you reacted so violently.
Well, it wasn't a hope, because that's the way the old Alan Spaulding solved problems, not the Alan Spaulding she married.
I happen to like them both.
Well, someone called me a little earlier, and whoever he was, he purposely disguised his voice when he asked me if I would be interested in some information about an extramarital affair that Elizabeth had while she was still married to Justin.
Elizabeth? Well, I suppose it's possible.
Oh, yes, it's more than possible. And, of course, the man Elizabeth had the affair with had to be Mike Bauer.
Which gives you all the ammunition you'd need to get permanent custody of Philip.
Not only that, I could accomplish it without even having to go to court. You know how Elizabeth would go out of her way to protect Mike's sterling public image.
Perfect. How can I help?
Well, the mystery informant told me he'd give me some time to think about it and then he'd get back to me. Now, you know how important it is that I move quickly. So I want you to stay here this afternoon and answer the telephone for me.
Well, I'd be glad to, but this person doesn't even know me. He won't tell me anything.
Well, he might if you tell him that you've been given the authority to discuss price and to negotiate however much he wants for this information.
Well, I guess it's definitely better than having him call and get no answer.
Or Emily.
Did you call me, Mr. Spaulding?
No, Emily, I didn't. Oh, Miss Ballard is going to be staying here this afternoon. Would you see to it that she has anything she wants?
Certainly.
Well, I'll talk to you later. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Would you like something else, Miss Ballard?
Yes, Emily, I would. But you'd never be able to fit it on a tray.
I'm sorry?
Just a little private joke.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in
I
this
wonder
case
what's
shall be the
keeping
truth,
Alan
so help you
grounded.
God?
Oh,
I do.
I'm sure he'll be here by
Take
the
the
time you
stand.
get on the stand, dear.
I hope so.
Would you state your full name, please?
Kelly Edward Nelson.
Thank you.
Would you please tell the court how long you've known the defendant, Mrs. Richards?
I met Ms. Richards and her daughter Morgan when they moved to Springfield last March.
Would you say that you spent a fair amount of time in her company during that period of time?
Yes, I was coaching her daughter Morgan with some schoolwork last summer, so I was in their home a lot.
I think he saw us. So?
Could you give us your opinion of Mrs. Richards as a parent?
Well, I think Mrs. Richards is one of the most caring, concerned mothers I've ever known.
Would you give us an example of that concern?
Yeah, her daughter Morgan left home about 4 months ago, and Mrs. Richards dropped everything else in her life at that time and went out to Chicago to help the police find her.
You went to Chicago also, is that right?
Yes, I was out there trying to help find Morgan, too, and, well, I have never seen anyone exhibit any more maternal concern than Mrs. Richards did for her daughter at that time.
It's got to be the 5th time you've looked at that watch.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You bored?
Oh, come on, Katie. I was only thinking that I should get back to the restaurant. Well, because I have some late deliveries coming and I have some phone calls to make also.
Oh, we offer free public telephone services. One right over there.
Yes, I know, but I prefer the privacy of my own office and my own restaurant, okay?
Gotcha. Mr. Stafford, how's your father doing?
Oh, when I left, he was working on a sketch of Jane Marie for Ross Mahler, but he promised that he would get some rest.
Andy Norris, this is Chet Stafford.
Oh, how do you do?
Fine, thank you. Listen, Katie, I've got to go now. I'll call you later on. Nice to have met you, Mr. Stafford.
Nice meeting you.
Would you like to sit down?
Thank you. I was thinking when I finished my coffee, I'd go over to the courthouse and see Ross in action. I saw him once during the first trial, but I didn't get to stay very long.
Well, a couple of the staff here at Cedars are called in for the defense of Mrs. Richards. They were called in for the afternoon segment. I think Ross has already presented his case for the prosecution. In fact, there's a whole article in this afternoon's journal. It's very complimentary. Since he's your friend, maybe you'd like to read it.
Oh, no thanks. I'll pick up a copy in the lobby.
Oh, go ahead. Come on, I don't need it anymore.
Thank you.
What?
Katie, I have to get to the courthouse.
Well, don't forget my paper.
No. Look, and do everything you can to see that my father does not see a copy of this paper. The shock could be fatal.
And when Kelly got off the witness stand and told me you were here, I just couldn't believe it. You know how upset your mother will be if she sees you.
Well, that's why we sat in the back.
But why did you come here at all?
Well, I knew that it was an important day for my mother. I just couldn't stay away.
Did Michael see you when he came out?
No. I really wish you wouldn't tell him. I wish you wouldn't tell my mother either.
All right. But only because I know how upset she is. And I want you to promise me that you will not come back here at all.
Don't worry about it, Mrs. Bauer. I'll see to it that she doesn't.
Okay, fine. Well, if you want to wait till after the afternoon session, we can drive home together. Is that all right?
Sure. Excuse me, Mrs. Bauer.
Okay.
Do you know why your son called that special session, special recess?
No, I don't, but I'm sure it's because something came up that he had to take care of immediately. But would you excuse me? I think I better get back to my seat.
Well, leave it to Kelly Nelson to tell Bert that we're here. Now, she promised that she wasn't going to say anything, so don't worry about it.
I guess Alan isn't going to make it here in time to see me testify.
Well, darling, he might. It depends on how long this recess lasts.
Derek, why did Mike ask for this special recess?
Well, Laney just arrived with Neil Blake.
Laney, thank you for getting Neil right over here. I appreciate it.
I knew you'd want to speak to him right away. That's why I sent the guardian with that note.
Yeah, I do have to ask you something before I decide whether or not I'm going to put you on the stand. Now, did you make that cash deposit to Jennifer's account in Hartford Mills?
Yes.
Good. That means that I can counter Ross's claim that she got that money from questionable sources. Now, let me ask you something else. While Jennifer still lived in Hartford Mills, did you make another deposit, enough for her to say paid back mortgages of several $1,000s?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell me why or anything about that money?
Well, you understand why I can't. I deposited the money on direct orders from a client.
Yes, I fully understand the ethics involved, Neil, but I'm trying to defend a client who would rather lie and perjure herself and go to prison than tell the truth about something that happened in her life.
I'm sorry. Without her permission, I can't tell you any more than I have already done. I deposited 2 separate sums, each of $25,000 to her account.
Yeah, all right, okay. Now, look, I found a strong box in Jennifer's bungalow. And in the strong box was a birth certificate which indicates that she gave birth to an illegitimate child at some point in her life. Now, do you know anything about that?
I can't answer that.
Neil, I'm asking you, in the privacy of this room, can you tell me anything that might help defend this woman? Look, her life and reputation are at stake.
I'll be happy to testify about the 2 sums of money, but that is absolutely all I can do. That's all I can discuss, even in the privacy of this room.
All right. I'll put you on the stand first so you can get back to your office. It's all right.
I'm sorry, Mike, that I can't cooperate with you more than this, but it would be perverting the ethics. That's something I can't do any more than you could.
Yeah.
That recess was a perfect opportunity for us to get out of here and go home for the afternoon.
I'm feeling fine, Ben. I told you I want to stay and listen to Mike's new evidence before we leave.
Okay.
Also, turn over Mr. Peck's folder to Don Jordan because I'm not going to have time to handle that case.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll get right back to the office.
Good, thank you.
luck.
Cheers.
Because I've got somewhat of a case of jet lag after this.
Yes, but if you've been back since last night, why haven't I heard from you?
Well, I've been terribly busy, Alan. Perhaps if you're free after I testify here, we could meet then.
Testify? What's your connection with this case, Neil?
Well, I really can't explain that. Excuse me.
Hello, hello.
Oh, Alan, I'm so glad you made it. I was afraid you were late in time.
Well, thank God the court was in recess, or I would never have been able to come through the doors. I love you.
I love you, too.
Hi, Bert.
Hello, Alan.
Is that Morgan's mother?
Yes. Oh, I keep forgetting you haven't met Jennifer.
All rise. Court is now in session.
Miss Ballard, may I bring you anything more?
No, thank you, Emily. I just can't understand why Alan hasn't called or come back yet. It's 4:30.
Well, I read in the newspaper that the court sessions have been unusually lengthy since the new trial began.
Yes, apparently so. Oh, I'll get it out. Alan wanted me to answer the phone. He's expecting a certain call. Wants me to handle it.
Very well.
Alan Spaulding's residence.
May I speak to Mr. Spaulding?
I'm sorry, he's not here at the moment.
Thank you.
But before he left, he asked me to answer his phone in case an important call came in regarding a personal matter. Could this be that call?
I only talked to Alan Spaulding himself, lady.
Well, perhaps you'll make an exception, since I handle all of Mr. Spaulding's personal finances as well as his professional affairs. And you must realize how much he trusts me, since he told me about your previous phone call.
If he trusts you so much, what were we talking about?
You apparently have damaging information regarding Elizabeth Marler. How much do you want for that information?
$25,000 cash.
Much too much.
I'm giving you 5 seconds to change your mind, or I'm gonna hang up. I'll never call back again, I mean it.
All right, all right. The price is not negotiable. Fine. Fine. Now, why don't we discuss the way in which you want this information and money to exchange hands?
Now, when you went back to Jennifer Richards' bungalow to pick up Mrs. Wexler, was she still wearing the gloves and carrying the shopping bag that she'd had when you dropped her off there earlier?
She was wearing the long gloves, and she had the shopping bag, but it was empty. And she had it folded up, and she was carrying it under her arm.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Marler?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Harris, at any time during the drive from Mrs. Wexler's estate to her destination, did you see the contents of that shopping bag, or could you in any way tell that she was carrying pieces of silverware or jewelry?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Bauer, do you wish to redirect?
No, Your Honor, but I would like to have a few minutes to confer with my assistant.
Granted. You may step down, Mr. Harris.
I think I'm going to have to put Jennifer on the stand now.
Well, let's hope it doesn't backfire on you the way it did the last time.
Well, anything can happen, but let's face it, Ross put Amanda back on the stand. And if Jennifer's testimony looks good, we can do the same with her.
That makes sense. Good luck.
Thank you. Your Honor, the defense is ready to call its next witness.
Very well.
Your Honor, the defense calls Mrs. Jennifer Richards to the stand.
Mike, why didn't you tell me?
They're waiting.
Alan, what's the matter? You're as white as a sheet.
I know her.
Jennifer?
She's not Jennifer Richards at all. My God, it's true.
Please state your name.
Jennifer. You must be mistaken.
No, I'm positive. No wonder I had a strange reaction the first time I saw Morgan.
What? Last
I'll explain later. I've got to get a note to your father right away.
And did you come to Springfield because of a job opportunity?
Oh, yes, I'd been hired as executive housekeeper for Mrs. Wexler. And my husband hoped to find work in one of the menu...
Mrs. Richards, you go on, please, with what you were saying.
Mrs. Richards? Mrs. Richards, please answer the question.
This has been the award-winning Guiding Light. Fashions provided by Lily Rubin Salon South Southwest, Sarah Coventry, and Barney's. Stay tuned for One Day at a Time on most of these CBS stations. Be sure to be with us tomorrow for another full hour of The Guiding Light.